Got a collector's item for you fiends. Got a real great chiller diller. Give the man your grimy little dime if you haven't done so already, and come into the Crypt of Terror. This is the Crypt Keeper ready with another of my tales of horror. So sit down on the tan bark floor and I'll begin the blood-curdling yarn I call Lower Berth. Long before the advent of radio, movies, television, and comic books, the only entertainment folks throughout the country enjoyed were the traveling carnivals, which set up their gaily colored tents on vacant tracts of land at the outskirts of their towns. About 80 years ago, one of these carnivals came to a small town in the Ozark Mountains. Right this way, folks. See the sideshow. See the greatest collection of oddities ever to be assembled under one tent. Right this way, folks. The sideshow of this particular carnival was owned by a man named Ernest Feely. Patiently over the years, he had assembled a fabulous collection of oddities and freaks. He had the usual attractions. See Fanny, the fat lady, folks, 450 pounds of female pulchritude. See Hagna, the sword swallower. Skullface, the living skeleton. Fago, the fire eater. But Ernest Feely had one attraction, a headline attraction, that never failed to draw the crowds, to separate the curious from their quarters. And last but not least, folks, the star attraction of Feely's sideshow, the most unusual oddity ever to be put on display anywhere, anytime. Inside, in its original sarcophagus, is Myrna, the only female Egyptian mummy in existence. 25 cents, folks, right this way. Myrna the Egyptian mummy was owned by Zachary Kling, a retired archaeologist. Ernest Feely paid Zachary Kling a very large salary for the privilege of exhibiting Myrna. And now, folks, if you will step this way, Dr. Kling, who found Myrna, the Egyptian mummy, will tell you all about her and show her to you. 5 times a day, Zachary Kling would narrate how he discovered Myrna, and then show her to the gaping customers. He'd even undo part of her wrappings. Myrna, the only female Egyptian mummy in America, was found in the Valley of the Kings by my expedition. Her tomb was deep in the cliffs that tower over the Nile River. On the tomb walls, we found the inscriptions describing her incarceration. It seems that Myrna, or Mirana, as the Egyptians called her, was a lady-in-waiting to the pharaoh's wife.
Bring me my perfume, Myrna. Yes, mistress.
Myrna was very beautiful, and soon caught the pharaoh's fancy. But loyal Myrna, faithful to her mistress, repelled the pharaoh's advances.
Do not struggle, my pet. I am your king. You must do as I wish.
No, no, I will not. Never, never!
The pharaoh, in anger, ordered that she be buried alive as punishment. Myrna was forcibly wrapped in the ceremonial burial windings.
She fights like a cat, sire. She will fight no more. Hurry!
And so for 4,000 years, this poor girl lay in her tomb, until I uncovered her. And now, I give you Myrna. The mummified body of the unfortunate servant girl stood in its sarcophagus, its arms folded across its chest. The carnival customers never failed to gasp and scream whenever Dr. Kling would uncover it. And now, I will remove some of the wrappings. If the sight of the mummy was revolting, her unwrapped face was even more so. The wrinkled, dried flesh clung to her skull like wet tissue paper. Her eyes had receded deep into their sockets. Lips were drawn tightly back into a leering grin. Some cried out, some turned away.
Good Lord!
But there were always more the next night, more of the curious. Word traveled fast in small towns. They flocked to see Myrna. She well earned her keep. Ernest Feely paid Zachary Kling his salary happily. And then, when the carnival hit that small Ozark town...
You, Mr. Feely? My name's Jeb Sickles. I understand you own this here sideshow, Mr. Feely. I think maybe you might be interested in what I got.
What's that, Mr. Sickles?
I'm the doc round these parts, Mr. Feely. Ain't got no license or nothing, but folks like what I do for 'em, so they come to me. About 2 years ago, this here crone come down from the mountains. I'd never laid eyes on her before. She begged me to come back with her.
Look, Mr. Sickles, I'm a busy man. Get to the point. What is it you've got that I'd be interested in?
I'll get to it, Mr. Feely. Take it easy. Anyway, this old crone begged me so bad, I went. She told me her son was sick. Terrible sick. She said he was a-dying. She took me up into the mountains to this here cave. I nearly throwed up at what I saw.
What was it, Mr. Sickles?
It was her son, Mr. Feely. Her son had 2 heads. It was horrible.
Can you do anything for Enoch?
He was too far gone for me to save. He died about an hour after we got to the cave. I'm sorry, ma'am. I done all I could. Enoch is dead.
Take him away. Take him out of my sight.
He must have been 22, Mr. Feely. I took his body back down the mountain and put it in a moonshine still. I didn't want nobody to see it.
And you still have it? The 2-headed body?
It's been in the still for 2 years, Mr. Feely. The moonshine seems to have preserved it. You could... Oh!
Take me to it, quickly! Mr. Feely and the quack doctor pushed their way through the crowd ogling at Myrna, the mummy. Outside the carnival grounds, a horse and wagon waited. They drove to a hidden still.
There she is, Mr. Feely.
Come on! The light from the lantern cast an orange glow into the huge wooden still vat. Below the surface of the moonshine, the pulpy white faces of the 2-headed corpse stared up at Ernest Feely.
That's him.
Ernest turned to Jeb Sickles, his eyes wide, his face flushed. How would you like to join my show, Jeb? Do what old Doc Kling does. Exhibit this here Enoch. Tell how you got him. I'll pay you a good salary.
Join up with you fellers, eh? Well, I don't know. I guess I'd like that.
So Jeb Sickles took his 2-headed preserved body out of the still and joined Ernest Feely's sideshow. Enoch was placed in a specially made glass tank filled with formaldehyde and put on exhibit. And now, folks, I give you Dr. Jebson Sickles and Enoch!
Folks, I discovered Enoch in the cave of an old mountain crone back in the Ozarks. He died in my arms.
When Jeb drew back the curtain, revealing the pasty-skinned, bloated, two-headed corpse of Enoch, the sideshow customers would cringe and shudder in revulsion.
And now I give you Enoch, the two-headed man.
It didn't take long for Ernest Feely to realize that the thing in the huge glass tank was a really valuable exhibit and deserved star billing, like Myrna. That's right, Jeb, I'm moving you up to star attraction. You'll share it with Duckling here.
Thanks, Mr. Feely.
So Enoch was placed opposite Myrna, and 5 times a day Jeb Sickles and Zach Kling exhibited their oddities to the curious who'd paid their quarters to see them. Myrna!
Enoch.
5 times a day Myrna's rotted brown wrappings were removed from her mummified face. And 5 times a day the curtain hiding Enoch's tank was withdrawn, revealing the twisting, turning, preserved corpse. And 5 times a day, as the crowd ogled and gasped, pasty-skinned, two-headed Enoch, floating in his formaldehyde world, stared with glazed eyes at the putrid, mummified, unwrapped face of Myrna the Mummy. The carnival moved from town to town. The crowds flocked to see Enoch and Myrna, and jealousy between Zach Kling and Jeb Sickles flamed.
What do you mean you're cutting my salary? If it wasn't for Myrna, you'd be...
Enoch pulls him in too, Zach. I've been underpaying Jeb. He and you get the same from now on. I'm lowering your pay and raising his. The bloated body with the staring pairs of eyes swayed in the formaldehyde. The dried remains in the rotted wrappings stood silently. 5 times a day they gazed upon each other.
Enoch.
Myrna! Then Ernest Feely, always the businessman, announced, I'm moving you and Myrna out front, Kling. We need a draw for the admissions. Jeb and Enoch are the stars now. And so, when the rotted wrappings were removed from Myrna's sunken, mummified eyes, she looked out across the crowd and saw nothing. I give you Myrna! And when the curtain was pulled back uncovering Enoch's tank, he looked out across the crowd and saw nothing.
I give you Enoch.
Thus, in the black of night, when the carnival folk lay asleep, a dried and bony hand moved slowly, hesitantly, pulling away its rotted brown wrappings, while a bloated, pale hand slid upward and over the tank rim, pulling its chalky, pulpy body after it. The morning heard the sideshow tent echo with angry voices.
He stole Enoch.
He stole Myrna.
Calm down, you two. Ernest quieted the raging oddity owners. Use your heads, you fools. If both are missing, neither of you could have done it. Old Doc Kling knelt to the tan bark and picked up a musty-smelling fragment.
A piece of Myrna's wrappings.
Drops of formaldehyde. They go that way.
The 3 men followed the fragments of mummy wrappings and the droplets of formaldehyde out of the sideshow tent and into the morning sunlight. The trail was clear, very clear. It leads to that house.
Look at the sign.
Justice of the... Good Lord!
The justice of the peace was very friendly. He told the sideshow men all he knew. Couple came last night. Yep. Wanted to get married. I did it. I performed the ceremony. Wasn't there anything, strange about them? Shucks. All I can say is they must have been drinking. Smelled mighty bad, like as if they'd been. But $5 is $5. Didn't you see? Didn't see nothing. Can't see. I'm blind, you know.
Blind?
Good Lord. Careful now, don't peek. Here comes the finish. Brace yourselves. First, let me say that Mr. Feely, Jeb, and Zach lost Myrna and Enoch's trail after they left the JP. Just couldn't find 'em. In fact, it wasn't till a year later when the carnival returned to the very Ozark town where Enoch had first joined the sideshow that Mr. Feely heard about the strange doings up in the mountains.
Somebody said they seen 'em, but I don't believe 'em. Who ever heard of a living mummy and a two-headed corpse?
Where? Where did they see 'em?
Up in the old crone's cave. She's dead now, but the folks around here are mighty superstitious. If you ask me, they're seeing things. Now when
Jeb will take me there. He knows where it is. They went. Jeb and Zach, who'd stayed on with the carnival as handymen, and Mr. Feely. They went up the mountain to the old crone's cave. Look.
Good Lord.
It's them.
And the 3 carnival men dragged their long-lost oddities back down the mountain.
Myrna! My Myrna!
Enoch, my boy.
At last, after over a year. But the 3 men were out of earshot when the whale drifted out from deep in the bowels of the crone's cave. They never saw the infant thing crawl out into the sunlight, its eyes streaming with tears, crying for its parents. Yep, that's it, kiddies. That's my story. Yep, Enoch of the Double Domes was my old man, and Myrna the Mummy was my old lady. You might say the mummy was my mommy. By the way, I understand that there's a carnival today, 80 years later, that still exhibits a mummy and a 2-headed preserved corpse. If any of you see them, write me. I want to send a card. It's their anniversary next month.